Do you like mysteries? To wander through the enigmatic mist of the inexplicable? Great. I'm Merc, and here you'll find what you're looking for. Welcome to my domains. The truth dissolves into the mist.
Till, in the silent wind-scoured mountains of Iran, where the earth folds into secrets, there is a cave known as Mâmar-e-Dokhtar. Its name means the girl's cave. But the stories whispered by the nomadic tribes who pass beneath its shadow speak of something far older than any girl. They speak of a treasure not made of gold or jewels, but of polished, impossible darkness. They speak of a mirror. This is not a legend of vanity or magic spells. It is a story of a single, unbearable question, a question so profound it has the power to unravel a human mind. What if you could know? What if you could gaze into a surface and see, with absolute clarity, the exact moment, the precise circumstance of your own end? This is the curse and the promise of the mirror of Mâmar-e-Dokhtar, an artifact said to be carved not from glass, but from a single, flawless sheet of volcanic obsidian. The tales are ancient, passed down through generations of the Bakhtiari and Kashkai peoples. They say the mirror was placed in the cave by beings of a forgotten age, or that it formed naturally. A freak geological occurrence that somehow captured a fundamental truth of the universe. It does not show a reflection of your face. It does not show the past. It shows one thing only: the immutable event of your death. The legends are specific, and they are chilling. To look into the mirror is not to see a vague premonition. It is to witness a scene. You might see yourself as an old man, passing peacefully in a sunlit room surrounded by family. You might see the screech of tires, the flash of metal, the quiet solitude of a hospital bed. Or you might see something violent, sudden, and terrifyingly soon. The vision is said to be hyperreal, more vivid than memory, etching itself onto the soul with the permanence of a scar. The knowledge, once gained, is irrevocable. You cannot unsee your fate. For centuries, the story remained a campfire tale, a moral fable about the dangers of forbidden knowledge. Deck changed in the early 20th century, when Western archaeologists and adventurers, drawn by Persia's ancient mysteries, began to hear the whispers. They were dismissed as superstitious folklore until the name of a man named Dr. Edward Vaughan surfaced in fragmented expedition diaries from the 1920s. Vaughan was a British ethnography obsessed with Zoroastrianism and pre-Islamic Persian lore. He spent years living with nomadic tribes, earning a fragile trust. In his private journals, which were only partially published, he wrote of being led to a remote cave in the Zagros Mountains by an aging chieftain who owed him a life debt. The description matches Mâmar-e-Dokhtar. Vaughan wrote of a chamber deep within, where the air was still and cold. And in the center, resting on a natural stone plinth, was an oval slab of obsidian, about the size of a man's torso, its surface so perfectly smooth it seemed to drink the light from his torch. The chieftain refused to enter the chamber, whispering a warning Vaughan barely understood. Driven by academic arrogance, or perhaps a deeper, more personal desperation, Vaughan approached alone. He later wrote only a single, cryptic line about what followed: "I have seen the garden, and it is paved with bones." He emerged from the cave a changed man. His colleagues noted a profound melancholy, a distant stare. He abandoned his research, returned to England, and lived the rest of his life in quiet, reclusive routine. He died exactly as he had described in a sealed letter to be opened posthumously, peacefully in his sleep at the age of 74, of a predicted heart condition. The letter revealed he had known the date and the cause for over 40 years. This account, straddling the line between documented history and mysterious legend, transformed the mirror from a myth into a potential, terrifying reality. It presented a modern, educated man who seemed to have interacted with the artifact and borne the consequences of its knowledge. What did he see that made him write of bones in a garden? Did he see his own peaceful death, or something else entirely, something that showed him the cost of such knowledge? The psychological implications are a labyrinth. To know the hour of your death is to have the ultimate spoiler for your own life. Every joy becomes tinged with a countdown, every setback measured against an immovable deadline. Could a human psyche truly integrate such information without fracturing? The legends say many who looked went mad, not from a horrific vision, but from the unbearable weight of certainty itself. They became prisoners of a future they could not change, living in a ghostly prelude to a fixed finale. This raises the first and most haunting question about the mirror. Is it a window, or is it a lock? Does it simply reveal a pre-written fate, or does the act of looking itself cement the future, making the vision an inescapable, self-fulfilling prophecy? If you saw yourself dying in a specific plane crash, would your lifelong, panicked avoidance of air travel somehow, ironically, lead you to be on that exact flight? Mireille. The mirror, in this light, is not a tool of knowledge, but a weapon of fate, tricking you into weaving the very rope that will hang you. But what of the cave itself? Mâmar-e-Dokhtar is a real archaeological site. Officially, it is a small ancient grotto with some minor Sociniadira carvings, of little interest compared to the grand ruins of Persepolis. It is not a major tourist destination. It is a lonely, forgotten hole in the rock. This obscurity is perfect for a legend. It is remote enough to hold a secret, yet documented enough to be plausible. Could the mirror be a real object, hidden in a deeper, uncharted chamber? Perhaps an ancient psychological device, a polished stone used in initiation rites to test the mental fortitude of priests or warriors, with the vision being a hallucination induced by herbs, isolation, and powerful suggestion. Or is the location itself the key? Certain places on Earth are said to have resonant properties, to sit on ley lines or spiritual vortices. Could the cave be a natural amplifier of human consciousness, and the obsidian mirror a focus, a lens that turns our deepest, most subconscious fears or intuitive knowledge into a vivid, waking vision? You, watching this, might dismiss it as a potent folk tale, a metaphor for mortality. But ask yourself this, in the quietest hour of the night, if you were given a chance, a real chance, to stand before that black glass, would you have the strength to turn away? Could you live with the not knowing, or would the terrible human need to see beyond the curtain, to solve the ultimate mystery of your own existence, draw your eyes to its surface? The legend persists because it speaks to the core of the human condition, our dread of the unknown end, and our even greater terror of truly knowing it. The modern chapter of this legend begins with silence and with shadows. After the era of early explorers, the trail seems to go cold. The 20th century, with its world wars and political upheavals, turned Iran into a difficult, often closed, country for such esoteric inquiries. The mirror faded back into the realm of obscure myth. But in the digital age, the whispers found a new conduit, the darker corners of the internet. On forums dedicated to the paranormal and forbidden archaeology, a user with the handle Zagroswalker began posting in the early 2010s, claiming to be a descendant of one of the nomadic tribes. He shared stories passed from his grandfather. His posts were detailed, describing not just the mirror, but the ritual approach to the cave, the specific time of year when the light aligns, and a warning about a guardian spirit that was not a physical being, but a feeling of overwhelming despair that protected the chamber. He claimed the mirror did not show every seeker their death. It showed them what they needed to see, which was often far worse. Some, he wrote, saw not their own end, but the tragic deaths of their loved ones. Years before the events occurred, burdening them with a knowledge they could never share, only watch unfold. Then, in 2017, a cryptic and since-deleted video was uploaded to a now-defunct video-sharing site. The footage was shaky, shot on a night vision camera. It showed the interior of a rocky cave, the audio nothing but heavy breathing and the scrape of boots on stone. The person holding the camera rounded a corner, and their light fell upon a smooth, dark, oval object resting on stone. The frame froze, zooming in on the surface. For a moment, there was only the black glass. Then, a faint, swirling pattern seemed to form in its depths, like smoke. The person behind the camera let out a choked gasp, not of fear, but of profound sorrow, and the video cut to static. Whether an elaborate hoax or a genuine, terrifying record, the video ignited a new wave of interest. It provided a visual anchor for the legend, a glimpse of the alleged artifact. This digital resurgence coincided with a more tangible and disturbing trend. Reports began to surface from extreme tourism circles and adventure bloggers about a phenomenon they called the Zagros silence. Several independent groups attempting to locate. Mâmar-e-Dokhtar, for exploration or documentary purposes, reported the same series of strange events. Their sophisticated GPS devices would fail consistently within a 2-mile radius of the suspected location, their readings becoming nonsensical. Satellite phones would drop their signal, and drones flown to scout the terrain would inexplicably lose power and crash. More unsettling were the psychological reports. Team members, even seasoned climbers and explorers, described experiencing intense, sudden bouts of existential dread and vertigo near the area, feelings that dissipated as soon as they retreated. It was as if the place itself was rejecting their intrusion, defending its secret with a form of psychic topography. This brings us to the most compelling and sinister theory about the mirror. It is not an object at all, but a place. The cave, Mâmar-e-Dokhtar, might be a natural anomaly, a geological fault line not in the earth, but in the fabric of time or perception. The mirror could be a specific point within this anomaly, a focal point where human consciousness briefly intersects with the timeline in a non-linear way. Looking at the obsidian, which absorbs all light, might simply be the ritual that allows the mind to project itself forward along its own world line, to its inevitable termination point. The vision is not in the stone. It is in the seer, unlocked by the unique electromagnetic or gravitational properties of that specific location. This theory turns the legend from a story about a magical object into a story about a terrifying natural phenomenon, a glitch in the matrix of reality that humanity has mythologized. But if the cave itself is the source, what does that mean for the visions? Are they truly fixed, immutable futures? Or are they merely the most probable outcome based on the individual's current path, a projection that becomes more likely the more one believes in it? The legend takes its final dark turn with the concept of the uninvited witness. Some tribal stories warn that the mirror does not only show the looker their fate. In rare cases, it shows the looker as the cause of fate for someone else. A man might look and see himself, years later, causing a fatal accident. A woman might see herself making a decision that leads to a loved one's ruin. This transforms the mirror from a personal curse into a moral abyss. It grants knowledge that could prevent a tragedy, but obtaining that knowledge through the mirror might be the very act that sets the tragedy in motion. It becomes a paradox trap, a snake eating its own tail. Sir, we circle back to the eternal, unanswerable question. Is it better to know or to not know? The mirror of Mâmar-e-Dokhtar presents the ultimate test of that question, not as philosophy, but as a reported physical experience with brutal consequences. There is no evidence it can change fate, only that it can reveal it, and in the revealing, shatter a life with the weight of certainty. Perhaps the true purpose of the legend is not to guide someone to the cave, but to scare them away from it. It is a warning, carved into the culture of a people who have lived under stark, beautiful, and merciless mountains for millennia. A warning that some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. Some truths, once seen, cannot be unseen. The mountains hold many secrets, and some are kept for a reason. The future is a wild, uncertain place, the last great wilderness. To map it completely is to destroy its very nature, to turn the adventure of life into a scripted march toward a known destination. The mirror offers an end to mystery, and in doing so, offers an end to what makes us truly human, our hope, our fear, our free will dancing in the beautiful, terrifying dark. The cave is there. The stories are there. The choice, ultimately, is a thought experiment that lingers in your mind. If you found the path, if you stood before that black glass, with the weight of ages pressing down on you, would you look, or would you understand that the greatest courage is not in facing the knowledge of your end, but in turning your back on it, and walking back into the unknown, living every moment in the vivid, precious light of not knowing how the story ends?
Did you like this mystery? And what is your theory? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed it, then like and share. I'm Merc, and I'll be waiting for you in the next mystery.